What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
Welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. Thank you all for tuning in. We got some exciting news, fellas. We are actually going to be talking a little bit of Kentucky basketball to start the night off with because we have had a recent commitment from Mr. Brayden Hawthorne. Brayden Hawthorne is a 6'8" small forward he attended Huntington Prep, and he is the number 33 ranked player in his class. He once was committed to West Virginia, and he ended up decommitting and picking us over Duke, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, and Pittsburgh. He was the only top 40 recruit left on the table and available, highest recruit left out there. He has, I don't know if y'all watched any highlights, but I think it'll be some interesting. If you did watch highlights, you'll know this is interesting. He does have a 7'3" wingspan. And then one more thing, and I'll send it over to y'all, talk a little bit about that pickup. The Wildcats. We now have the number 4 ranked transfer portal class, and I guess recruiting tagged along in that, only behind St. John's, Michigan, and Louisville. So, Mason, you said, I saw you shaking your head. You must have watched some highlights. So go ahead and thoughts on the Brayden Hawthorne pickup.
Yeah, I watched a few highlights. I tried to find like his stats last year. I couldn't really find anything
I couldn't find any
showed.
stats either. I looked.
I tried to look. I couldn't really find anything, but I mean, just based off his highlights, his frame, 6'8", 7'3" wingspan, like you said, based off his highlights, I think he's a great fit for Pope's system. He kind of reminds me, just watching his highlights, of he reminds me a little bit of Nate Ament. Obviously he's not as highly touted as Nate Ament, but just kind of his game. There's a couple clips on his highlight of him being able to drag defenders out, go one-on-one. He had some nice moves, can handle the ball. He can knock down a three. I don't know what the stats were from, but it was I guess a few games that they played, maybe some invitational or something. And I think they played 2 games, and he was 4 for 6 from 3 in those 2 games. And I don't know, I think he averaged 13 points a game or something in that little invitational they played in. But I'm excited for him. Obviously I think he's somebody that could develop. We've been talking about that with some of these guys he's been bringing in. He looks a little frail. Looks like he may get beat up on a little bit in SEC play if he plays this year. But he definitely has time to put on some muscle, and I think he has great potential. He's one of the fastest rising prospects right now in that class. So good get for us. I mean, basically down to one of our last spots on the roster, and this is a guy that we're able to pull in. So I think it's a good thing going forward, and I'm excited to see him develop. So
on the highlights, I was very impressed with his defense. A lot of the highlights that I watched was a lot of defensive stops. I mean, just a lot of blocks, he would throw other players off once they would try to get a shot off. I think he's a good fit. Colton, thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite type of players that I feel like you can never have enough of are the 6'8", play multiple positions, long wingspans. Just because when you get those type of guys, you can get them playing the 2 if they can shoot it all. At times, if they need to play the 4, and obviously the 3 is usually the best for them. So I mean, any guys like that usually can play multiple positions, they're always good to have. So I don't know a whole lot about it. Truthfully, I didn't even know we were still trying to look for roster spots. I mean, their depth should not be a problem. Now with this player, obviously being 30, ranked 33rd. I mean, that's actually, he's not far from being our highest ranked player. I mean, what was our highest ranked player? Was it Jasper Johnson at what, 27 or something like that? So I mean, he's right there at possibly the highest actual freshman recruit we have coming in almost, and here he is just coming in at the last second randomly when we thought we had kind of already had a roster built. But it's like anything else. Pope's going to have to. It's a good problem to have, but he's going to have to learn how to juggle all these guys you come in, because now you're looking at what, 14 players
Yeah, so
that
you're talking about that. I'm gonna let you continue, but so now we have Denzel Aberdeen, Colin Chandler, Muhammad Diabate, Brandon Garrison, Brayden Hawthorne, AJ, Jasper Johnson, Jalen Lowe, Malachi Marino, Trent Noah, Otega 08 if he comes back, which we expect, Reese Potter, Jaden Quainitz, and Cam Williams.
that's 14 players.
Dang.
14 players. Now look, I don't expect Moreno, the Potter kid, um, maybe like a Cam Williams, from he may play a little bit, but I don't think.
I think Cam Williams may be early. He's going to get his moments early, I think. I do.
There's a few of those that I'm not positive, because it'll depend on their physicality in the SEC. Because what happens, like you said, he might get to play early when some of these games, and you'll see. But then when it actually comes down to physicality in the SEC, some of these guys are going to have to show a little more muscle and strength than what they have. And I think that's where you'll separate some of the players. But now it'll be interesting to see how like Trent Noah gets used in this system, right? Like, everyone's going to want to see Trent Noah, but is Trent Noah all of a sudden getting jumped by all these guys that's coming in? But now what you're going to see is you're going to start seeing like every other team that Kentucky's had and all these other teams now. You're going to have your 5 or 6 stay, and you're going to have your 5 or 6 leave every year, because they're looking for playing time. But it's a good problem to have, because especially coming off a year when depth was one of your biggest issues. That definitely should not be the problem this year, but it will be interesting to see how he juggles the lineups. And there's going to be several combinations that I'm sure he'll try. Worries me, because obviously our biggest knock on him was probably the substitutions, and now having 14 players, he's able to run
all 14.
Yeah, he's able to run all 14, trying to get them in. So
the triple platoon.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, but it's a good problem to have, and I'm excited. It's a good add-on from the Hawthorne kid.
Yeah, whenever Colton was talking about our subbing, I think though it's going to be a complete different look as far as who we're bringing in. We're bringing in, like what we said we missed a lot of, which is athletes. When you look at this roster right now, I see athletes. Even like a Colin Chandler. We talked a lot about him early in the season about how this is not really, but then later on this season we're like, okay, let's take off the gas a little bit. Colin Chandler has a little bit more up his sleeve than what we expected. And he is an athlete. And now you're talking about Colin Chandler. What's he going to do? Is he going to come in? And you got Denzel Aberdeen, a national champion. Like, is he going to the 6-man? I could see him fitting in as a 6-man row. You have those Jasper Johnsons. You have the number 30. And I guess the one thing though I don't want this to turn into is I don't want these kids. Well, not all of them are kids, but some of these guys to get down early in the season, because with 14 people, there's only so much a coach can do. And it's not to knock on you saying, you're not that guy. But, I mean, when you're talking about now early in the season, I could see a lot of them getting in scrap minutes and just trying to pick up and figure out where do they need to play at, what's their spots and whatnot. But then you talk about January and February. That's whenever the roster goes down to like 8 or 9 deep. Which can be challenging, because you're talking about, let's just take this Brayden Hawthorne guy. I mean, he is a highly recruited guy. I mean, he's the number 33 player. Like, you expect to play being the number 33 recruit in a class. Come as a freshman. That's not the case now with college basketball. And we could see a lot of these guys going somewhere else next year by this time. But it's a good problem to have. I believe. I agree with you all 100%. Mason, any more thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I guess my biggest thing is I really just hope that Pope is addressing these players as, hey, look, we're bringing in guys who can compete, so you're going to earn your playing time. All right, if you're not coming and competing in practice, you just got to understand that we got a lot of guys here who can play good ball, so you better be ready to come and compete. And you're not getting playing time, then that's on yourself, so don't be pouting about it throughout the season. I just hope he's managing those expectations properly because, like you said, we got a bunch of guys who can potentially play. So,
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into our next little segment. We're going to shift gears to the NBA playoffs. Before we actually get to talk about the NBA playoffs, we need to give a big shout out to one of Big Blue's own, Mr. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He is the first Kentucky player to ever win an NBA Most Valuable Player. That's speaking a lot because let me give a little list here, and I'm just talking about mostly Cal people because he was a Cal guy. But just listen to some of these names, and you're also talking about 3 number 1 overall picks in John Wall, Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns. Let me continue a little bit more. DeMarcus Cousins, Brandon Knight, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Nerlens Noel, Julius Randle, Devin Booker, Willie Cauley-Stein, Jamal Murray, Bam, De'Aaron Fox, all these guys that I've just named. You may be thinking, yeah, I could see him winning over these guys now, but, going into the NBA draft, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he was kind of one of those guys that we later in his, I guess, throughout his career at Kentucky, he finally started to come along. It wasn't like early in the season, he was one of those quiet guys. He would get his, but it wasn't nothing. He would never be a showstopper. It wasn't nothing that would wow you once you watch him. But he did fill up the stat line. He was calm and collected is kind of what he reminded me a lot of Chris Paul. He always got to his spots, and he was at his pace. He never got to anybody else's pace. It almost looks like slow motion for him. The game slows down for him. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the first Kentucky MVP in the NBA. He was selected 11th in 2018. Hats off to him. I mean, and then you talk about when he came into the league, his first year, he had averaged 10 points. Didn't come into the league like just going crazy. Then he just gradually started getting better. 19 points the next year, then 23, then 24. Then he's up to 31, then 30, and now he's at 32 points per game. I mean, just a diamond in the rough is what I like to think of. But any thoughts on Mr. Alexander?
No, I agree with all the things you said. I said it that the year that we had him, I think, was it Higgins who was our other point guard that year that we had SGA?
Uh, I don't think so. No,
I don't think it was him.
No, SGA was. Yeah, no,
maybe. I don't know. I had to look.
SGA
it was one of those smaller guards. I don't remember who it was, but it was one of those smaller guards I think it was Higgins.
SGA came in with PJ, didn't he? PJ Washington. Wasn't that SGA's year?
It was Quade Green, wasn't it?
Was it Quade?
It might have been Quade.
It was one of those guards that got hyped up and they didn't really pan out. But I remember that year I watched the blue-white game.
Green.
I remember that year I watched the blue-white game. And after watching that blue-white game, Dylan, like you said, I could just see he was so under control. He never got in a hurry. He kind of controlled the game, went at his own pace. After that blue-white game, I said it that year. I said, that is our starting point guard. I said, he needs to be starting right now. And
he
by
had
the end of the year,
too.
he was. Yeah. He was hurt all year, though. But I said that during the blue-white game. I was like, that is our starting point guard. He's good. He needs to be starting for us. And by the end of the year, he was. But I don't think any of us ever really expected this. And, I mean, what he's done has been incredible. He kind of came, like you said, Dylan, diamond in the rough. He came in the league, wasn't doing a whole lot, wasn't really expected to do a whole lot, but he's just grown his game. And I think that's the biggest thing for him. A lot of people kind of hate on him right now because they think he's drawn all these fouls and flopping, and that's just part of his game. I mean, he just knows how to get to the spots and beat defenders there, and if they foul him, I mean, that's what makes him so good. He plays so under control and just gets to his spots and is able to get by defenses and create for his team. I think that's why the Thunder are so good because of him too, because he just slows down and plays the game the right way.
Yeah, I bet the Clippers are regretting all their trades that they gave for him.
Yeah.
Colton, what are your thoughts on SGA?
And this Patriots.
No, don't ruin it. Just keep going.
Crazy.
Just keep going.
No, for me, SGA, it was a surprise. He gradually got better as the year got on, and you could just see him grow. And you knew, I mean, where he was ranked, but he was one of those that I was not positive that he even needed to go to the NBA draft at the time. Right? He ended up being, the potential was there, but I didn't look at him as an immediate draft, an immediate NBA player. Especially when you had saw, to me, he reminded me a lot of Brandon Knight. Right? He wasn't that showy, but he was good in big moments. He just But when you saw John Wall, there's a difference in John Wall and how SGA and Brandon Knight played. Like you could tell Wall was NBA like superstar, all that. I didn't see this in SGA. So like his gradual like increase. If you'd of all the guys that got drafted from Cal, where would he have failed at the guys that you thought would have been the MVP?
Yeah.
Right. Like I mean, he
Not
just
even
wouldn't
top
have been
10,
up. Right.
probably.
Exactly. No, not at least. I wouldn't think. So I mean, great. I mean, just awesome for him. It just shows the type of work that he's put in, the type of player that he is, and it's the type of guy that I will say this: the one thing that Cal was always very good at is recognizing like NBA talent guards and getting them prepared. Even like the guys that maybe they didn't do that great at the NBA at the Kentucky level, like they were good, and then they got to the NBA and really succeeded. And it's because I mean, Tyrese Maxey got on last year. You
Yeah.
take a guy like that who was pretty good, and then he all of a sudden went crazy, and they talked about him, and he was just talking about how Coach Cal and like Kentucky in general, you're playing against other NBA guys in practice,
Yeah.
and like the offense and the system that you run prepares you for that. So hats off to the program itself, Cal, but SGA's really worked hard, and happy for him.
Yeah. Well, we got the NBA playoffs going on as well right now. And in the Eastern Conference, we have the Knicks and the Pacers. And then in the Western Conference, Colton, you're a little bit ahead of us. Please don't ruin it. You have the Timberwolves and the OKC Thunder. Of the four teams that are remaining in the NBA playoffs, you have six Kentucky Wildcats representing the Kentucky basketball, which is the most. I think Villanova has four, so we're two above them. And most of Villanova is on the Knicks, and three of them. And then you have DiVincenzo, who
DiVincenzo.
is at the Timberwolves. Um, but you had last night the Thunder winning of a score 114-88. I'll be honest with y'all. I think there's no question and no doubt that the best team left in it is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've had the best record among the teams that are left. They were the second best team, I believe, in the NBA, maybe behind the Cavs. They may have been first. I can't recall, but
Cavs were first.
yeah, the Cavs are okay. I was right. So, but the thing that we've talked about all year long is can Oklahoma City get over the hump because they're still so young? They really are. They haven't had much experience. But then you talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, where they have Anthony Edwards, who is the so-called new face of the league, possibly, even though he doesn't want that. So, there's a lot of different storylines and headlines going on with both conferences. But in my opinion, I'm not even looking at the Western Conference. I am most intrigued, and I told you all before we even started, I love watching the Knicks. I do. They're so fun to watch. We've talked about this over and over and over. They're good. They are when the Knicks are good, it's good for the NBA. It's just the brand itself. And I truly I do. I think I've watched more Knicks games than I have Lakers games this year. I really just like watching them. They're really fun. They have a lot of guys who aren't really just so-called superstars. But we might need to start changing that because Jalen Brunson is a dude. Behind Shea and, Steph, but Steph's kind of not. I mean, I think Jalen Brunson has got to be in the conversations of the top 2 3-point guards in the league easily. But any thoughts on either the Western Conference game, or Western Conference finals, or the Eastern Conference finals? Colton, I want you to go ahead and start us out.
Yeah. So the Western, I would like the Thunder caused Anthony Edwards problems throughout the regular season. Going back and looking at some of them, I was just watching like Sports Center and some other talk shows this morning, and they were just talking about the stats that he put up against the Thunder in the regular season. And the Thunder is just such a solid team overall. Like the defense,
Yeah.
right, exactly. So when you get that type of defense along with the young, and you have an MVP on off, that just sets up. You just never know because of where they're so young and they ain't been there, how they're going to react. Because then you take someone like Anthony Edwards, who, yes, he's young and he hasn't been there, but it feels like he's a 10-year veteran, Anthony Edwards. He feels like he's been in this league forever, the way that he plays. And I do think that series will probably go to like 6 games. I think Timberwolves will take care of it at home. they might still win. But I think it's going to at least 6 games. I do think the Thunder will win. The Eastern Conference Finals, my hope is that the Knicks pull it out. I would love to see the Knicks in the championship. The Pacers are just one of those teams. These are two very similar teams where across the board, they just have really solid players at multiple positions. They don't have just standout superstars drop 35 points a night type guys. Brunson's probably the closest to that guy. But, for your starting fives, I mean, they throw a lot of good players out on both sides. And, I mean, I feel like this game is coming down to the wire, and I feel like this is how the majority of this series is going to be.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be surprised. I think the Knicks will pull it out because of home field advantage. But I would like to see. It's just going to be some fresh air to get 2 different teams in the NBA championship this year.
Yeah.
It'd be good for the NBA to get them, to have some of these teams get to the NBA finals, and whoever ends up winning. I honestly would not mind. I'm not rooting for the Pacers because I don't really have anything for them, but I really wouldn't mind anyone at this point winning this and just being like, that's pretty cool to watch that team come in and win a championship.
Yeah. Mason?
Yeah, biggest thing, Colton, you touched on it a little bit. The Thunder defensively. I mean, they're just they play team defense. And there was a possession last night that just stood out to me. I watched the game, and there was a possession, and the Timberwolves ended up getting like 3 offensive rebounds in one possession. And a lot of times, a team gets offensive rebound, you're kind of in scramble mode, right? You may end up giving up another basket. People are scattered all over the place, kind of trying to recover. But every single time that the Timberwolves got an offensive rebound, it's like the Thunder rotated exactly how they should, and they had every single man covered. And the Timberwolves still didn't score, after they had 3 offensive rebounds. And it was impressive to me to watch, ball goes up, they get the rebound. They're not turning around, looking. They're all talking and finding their man immediately, and they're locked right back in on defense. All right, we gave up a rebound. Let's go get the next one. So that was something that really stood out to me about the Thunder. I think they're a great all-around team, and they all play hard. They're young, and we've kind of seen this coming. People talked 2 or 3 years ago whenever they got all those draft. Oh, my goodness.
Colton, I told you not to ruin it.
I can't
He
help it. Oh, my God.
The Knicks blew it, didn't they?
Oh my! Just watch it. Just watch for a second. Sorry, if you're live streaming, just watch this, and I want to see y'all's reaction.
I'm probably behind both of y'all.
Oh my goodness! The Knicks just choked that game away. Oh my goodness!
Oh,
What
my
are
goodness.
if you're a Knicks fan, oh my goodness, Knicks, what are you doing?
Oh, wow. What were they up, like 14 in the fourth?
Yes,
like
they were
6
up
minutes
14.
left?
No,
Oh, his foot was on the line. It's going to overtime.
Was it?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
my
All right,
goodness.
continue on. Go,
Give me a
Mason.
Miles Turner basket.
Oh, here he goes. He got lucky. But no, anyways, I mean, I think the Thunder are the best team. We kind of saw this coming, like 3 or 4 years ago. Everybody was talking about all these picks that the Thunder have, and SGA's turned into the superstar. They had Holmgren, who was a young guy that everybody thought was going to be a stud. So I think they're the best team in it, and I think, they could be. We could see them go on a little run here in the NBA. We've seen teams before kind of go on a 3 or 4 year stretch where they win 2 or 3. So I could see the Thunder doing that.
Yeah.
Out of the East, though, like you said, Dylan, I love watching the Knicks. I'm pulling for the Knicks hard. I think it's good for the NBA, like you said. I think if you had the Knicks Thunder in the finals, it's going to be a lot more. You're going to have a lot more viewers than you would, probably the Pacers and whoever it is out of the West, I think. But I would love to see the Knicks in there. Hopefully, if the Knicks goes, then somebody from Kentucky's getting them a ring, right? Either SGA or Towns. So Thunder Knicks would be my kind of ideal finals matchup.
Yeah. Colton, listen, in overtime, if anything happens, you have got to stop.
While we're on this, though, DG, I was not going to do it, but the way that the shot went in, I had no choice. I mean, you can't watch this nonsense. Let's talk about Halliburton, though. I mean, that's overrated.
Yeah.
list is not looking very good, right? I mean, the man has been so clutch.
Yeah.
That is true.
He just ran straight back to the 3-point line. Like he could have went in for an easy basket and said, "Screw it, I'm running back." Yeah, that
Uh,
was awesome. I love having Cable.
Uh, get out of here. He's like,
I know.
Coach,
My goodness,
shut
way to
up.
ruin it. All right, well let's continue on. We are going to talk about Mr. Scottie Scheffler winning the
Hey.
PGA Championship, securing his second major, or technically his third major, but his second of the four. So now he has his hands. He has 2 green jackets in the Masters, and now he has added to the collection of majors, adding the PGA Championship. He wins at 11 under. There was a host of 3-way ties for second at 6 under, and then but it was a lot closer than what I guess you would say the leaderboard showed. You just had some guys at the end of the stretch trying to make some, or trying to throw some darts in there. We talked about John Rahm, who had the lead at one point, and then he was only down 1 stroke after bogeying, and then he followed it up with a double bogey. But I watched a video today, and I'm gonna quote pretty much the exact video. And I just was like, I thought this was awesome. And I was just like, my goodness, what an absolute. But he's just on a tear. All right. So y'all just listen to this. Since February 13th of 2022, which was Scottie Scheffler's first PGA win, which was the Waste Management Open. Okay. He has 15 PGA Tour wins. There's only been 2 players in the history of the PGA to ever get to 15 wins before the age of 29. You'll never guess. Tiger and Jack. Okay, so Scottie, he now has 2 Masters, a PGA Championship, 2 Players Championships. He's been a winner of the FedEx Cup. He has an Olympic gold medal. Okay, here's another interesting stat. In the last 8 54-hole leads that Scottie has had, he has won all 8. He is 8 for 8. The PGA Tour average after holding the 54-hole leader converts usually 1/3 of the time. Okay. Scottie Scheffler, strokes gained total, first. Strokes gained off the tee, second. Strokes gained approach shots, first. Proximity to the hole, first. Scrambling, first. Scoring average on the PGA, first. And then the most interesting and biggest stat of all, strokes gained putting, he is 19th. Guys, we could be on the verge. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I mean, I'm dead serious when I say this. We could be on the verge of watching Scottie break into the GOAT conversation. Not now, obviously. Now, do I think he gets to Jack's majors? I don't know. Do I think he gets the however many 82, however many most wins there are? But those stats don't lie. Scottie's on a tear. And, we sat here, 3, 4, or about a month ago and was talking about, Rory, he's back. This is Rory's, he's giving Scottie a run for the money. And at that point, Scottie had not won. I think this solidifies why Scottie is the number 1 player in the world and has been the past 3 years. And it's really not, it's not as close as anybody thinks. I want to hand it over to you all to talk a little bit about it, and then we can talk some more about it as well. But Colton, what about Scottie Scheffler?
Yeah, I mean it's a run like you haven't seen since Tiger, and which put Tiger. I was watching and it was like Scottie was going to have to win like I can't remember what it was, but like 30 of his next like 65 events or 70 events or something like that to be on the same pace as like Tiger, like his win percentage, which is just insane because that just tells you how much Tiger. So like, yes, like Scottie's on his way if he keeps this up. The thing about Scottie is like he's already right at 30, right? And so when you think about what Tiger had done by 30, I mean, it's, really not on the same page. What Scotty's going to have going for him that Tiger didn't really have going is from, if Scotty stays healthy, from 30 to 45, right? Because
That's what it
where
comes down to, health. That's
right,
what it.
that's where Tiger lost a lot of his. If Tiger had never got injured, what would he have done between the ages of 30 to 45, 48, whatever he is now? And that's where Scotty's going to be able to make up more ground in that time frame that Tiger didn't. But the amount that Tiger had won by the same age that Scotty is right now is just unreal. But man, I mean, the consistency is just unreal. Dylan, you talk about it all the time, the bounce back right after bogeys. I mean, that just speaks back. And same way with all these tournaments, right? He starts off the year kind of slower. It's not really slow, but he just can't get over the edge. Like he's having one bad round that's keeping him. He's still finishing top 20, and then he starts finishing top 10, but he's still having one round that's just not going low like everyone else. And then the next thing you know, he wins, and then he wins again. And like
Hey,
we talked about
probably.
it, but it's what we talked about. Like once he win one, he probably was going to win multiple in a row, and that's what he's done. Won another major by 5 shots. He's coming into with the Charles Schwab this week, heavy favorite. I mean, he's gonna win, but it just helps that he's such a good guy too. Such a likable guy, and I just think that he's on his path. It's going to take a lot to ever catch a Scotty or catch a Tiger or anything like that. I mean, just some of the stats when you actually rattle off Tiger stats is just unreal, really. But like almost like what we're thinking about what Scotty's doing, Tiger essentially doubled what he's done at this time. So can you imagine how much like Scotty's feel like he's dominating? How much it really had to feel like Tiger was dominating in that time frame? But yes, I mean Scotty's right now. He's on the closest. He's the closest. This is the closest Tiger like run that we've seen in a long time.
Mason?
No, I agree. Colton kind of pointed out the biggest thing there. Tiger caught fire a little bit earlier in his career, right? Than Scotty has. Scotty's just now coming on to this, but I think the biggest thing is health. I saw a bunch of people after he won this major. Who's going to finish with more majors? Rory, Bryson, Scotty, Brooks. All these guys that are still playing. I'm like, I feel like it's a no-brainer right now the way Scotty's playing. Like he's liable to win 3 more in the next 4 or 5 years. Maybe even more. He keeps this up, but it's so fun for me watching Scotty. I love watching Scotty because it's like he goes out there, he hits a bad shot on one hole. He always finds a way to recover. It feels like like it can seem like he's not having a great round because he's not throwing darts every hole, but then he still comes out there and fires a 3 under or 4 under, and he's always right there in the mix. I I do also want to point out, I think it was good, at least for me. I enjoy seeing Rahm playing well again. I really liked Rahm before he went to live, and he's kind of fallen off, but I think it was good for him to get some of that confidence back. And it was good seeing him and Scotty up there on the leaderboard again. You remember right before Rahm left, they were kind of both up there on top of the leaderboard and battling
Well, I mean,
against
not
each
just
other.
him.
So
Bryson DeChambeau was right there too, which also raises a
Bryson's
question.
been
Like,
up there though.
I know, but like people, you talk about like live, are they even relevant? And I mean, in the past couple majors, I mean, you have Bryson, and I know obviously it's not everybody, but I mean, live players are most of the time in these majors relevant. Now, do they get the job done? Well, you've had 2 of them get it done, and Bryson last year at the U.S. Open, and then Brooks, I guess it would have been 2 years ago at the PGA, or maybe 3 years ago. But I mean, it's just something to think about, I was watching Brandel Chambly. He was talking about how on the Golf Channel, how like live doesn't prepare you in these moments, which I kind of disagree with. I do. That's just my take on it. I think that at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with in the moment. It's just that John Rahm made a couple of bad shots at the end, and then it forced him to play his hand, and he had to go right after every single hole and be aggressive, and then that's ultimately what caused him to have some really bad holes. I mean, that's golf. That's just my opinion on that. Um, But man, I agree with everything else said. Scottie is just so fun to watch. And you talk about how being able to recover, not just on bounce back holes, but I didn't get a chance. Obviously, we was playing in a tournament on Sunday. But you know, Scottie, it wasn't just a couple of holes. The whole front nine, he had the lefts, and they talked about a lot about that, how he was able to recover in the middle of his round and completely change the back nine to the front nine. Like he went 3 under on the back and was able to pull out. I think, what did he finish, 1 under or even?
I think it was 1 under. I think.
Okay, so I mean, just that's impressive, knowing that you don't have your best stuff, and you know that
Like
these guys are coming after you after a major.
I saw a stat. You mentioned like 15 wins since 2022. He has more PGA Tour wins than the Carolina Panthers have wins in football since 2022. Which
Man,
I was like, what?
straight shot at the Panthers randomly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's an unreal run. I will say, like, it was good to see Rom, like you said. I was an original fan of Rom. He had kind of, matured, wanted to take, a leadership role in the PGA, and then he left. And now I don't really even think of Rom until the majors. And really, this is the first one that he's kind of put himself in contention. And since he left, Bryson's obviously been there. And the thing is about Liv, the three guys that were the closest to like major championship type golf contenders, they've still been up there. Granted, Brooks has kind of fell off the last couple of years. He did win the PGA as soon as he left for Liv, but last couple of years. But man, you talk about some of these other guys. You talk about the Dustin Johnsons and
He fell off a
some of the
cliff.
right. I mean, you don't see some of these guys. I mean, they're not even there. I mean, even Phil has done terrible. Which granted, Phil's older. You don't
Yeah.
expect it anymore, really. But still, that's
Yeah.
where I think. I mean, I'm not going to get into the live stuff tonight, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that he talked about Brandon Chamblee. He talked about preparing. I mean, I don't know. It's still golf, but I'm not going to say he's wrong on it because you take half those guys are finishing on hole like 4 or 16 or something. Like it's shotgun start every day. They're not even finishing on 18. And you talk about music is blaring on every hole and it's a party on every hole. And you're also talking that there is no cut. You have no fear of not getting paid. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a different lifestyle. I
No, it
mean,
is. It
really. I
is.
mean, you're not coming down stretch with there's silence and the crowds are lined up and you're coming down 18, the toughest hole. That's how you finish. That's a big difference in finishing on 16 and hoping that the leaders are going to falter on 18 and maybe I'll win this tournament, right? Because
Yeah.
according to their rules, where Rom started at on Sunday, Rom would have started at like hole 4 or something like that and finished on 3. So
Hmm.
I think there is some truth to that. It's still competition golf, but I think there can be some truth to it.
Yeah. Um. Well, let's continue on with everything that we've talked about heading into the PGA. Now let's get into Rory McIlroy, who did not take the media sessions and didn't talk to any media any days. And I've been waiting for this because
Go ahead, Dylan.
I sent you all something earlier before this. But before I get Rory, he finished tied for 47th at the PGA Championship. He was 3 over par. Um, and this is exactly what I was afraid of, and we had talked about it beforehand, or at least I know I did. And on one of our previous episodes after he had completed the Grand Slam, I talked about like Rory finally he got it done. He's got to find something to play for now. Like what is he going to play for? Like he's got to find something to channel that competitiveness that he had in the pedigree in the sense of like every tournament mattered because it was preparing him to complete the Grand Slam, and he felt like he still had something to prove. Well, Rory, before Thursday's round, I guess his press conference would have been either Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe even Monday. He states, and I quote, "I have achieved everything I wanted to do in the game. Everything beyond this is bonus." Now, is he wrong in stating that? No, I don't think. I think he's right, and he deservingly is right. That like, yeah, everything else he agrees. He is a bonus. You know, he achieved. He became the #1 player in the world. He's completed the Grand Slam. He's won
The
every.
FedEx Cup.
Yeah,
He's
he's won.
run Ryder Cup. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
yeah.
like he's achieved everything he's sought out to achieve. However, Rory McIlroy is still capable of doing a lot more. I mean, it's not like Rory can't hit the ball. All right? It's not like Rory can't compete. And that's what I'm afraid of. Like, what's he playing for? Like, what are we doing? You know, like you just won the Grand Slam. So, like, I don't understand at all his comments in a sense that uh I don't like his comments at all. It didn't make sense to me. What was y'all's thoughts?
Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I mean, I try to give it. Here's what the way I've always viewed Rory is the last few years. I haven't necessarily been a fan of his tone towards things, but now I also can't imagine some of the stress that he was probably under trying to take on that. Tiger had pretty much disappeared with the injuries and stuff, and he was still there. But when Liv come along, I mean, it was almost like Rory was in charge of saving the tour. Like that burden was like on his shoulders, and you've seen Full Swing, and you've seen the types of things that it's done to him, and then along with carrying the haven't won a major since this, and haven't, I mean, it was just, and then personal life things that it was happening, being said, and came out, and man, I mean, just the load that was carrying on him. So, and people handle media different. So I think he does have to find some motivation, and I think that he will. I think, but it could go the other way for a minute, right? Like look, anytime he steps out on the golf course, he's going to try to win. Like that's his mindset. That's every one of their mindsets. It doesn't matter if it seems like he's not or not. Now, if he, is on Sunday and he's in 10th place and all of a sudden a couple hoes go bogey bogey, yeah, does he have as much motivation to sit there and try to grind it out and see what he's got? Probably not. But I give Rory the benefit of the doubt because he essentially took over the role of Tiger. He did, like when Tiger went away for those injuries, like it was Rory McIlroy's like position to take over, and he did it. Like he was the young child prodigy that lived up to the expectations that he had. Like Tiger was. Like Scottie wasn't the young child prodigy, right? Like Rory was. All eyes was on him. He was on the news things as a kid. Like all eyes are on him, and he's all eyes have been on him since he's been a kid. So I, in my mind, I wish he wouldn't be like that because I want to see him continue to do. He's got to me, he's got a good 10 years left at
Well, I
36 years
agree,
old
and that's why
with
I
the
don't like his
equipment.
comments. Like it's like
So
like
right. So I hope that like I said, anytime he's teeing it up, he's still going to try to win. I hope that his comments are not necessarily affecting his actual attitude in like prep work and the things that's going to go into being like continuing to win at the highest level. I don't think it will. I think he's going to still win. I think there will be a time when he might go back into a slump and he might wake himself up and say, "All right, I'm back in a slump. Let's give this one. Let's go and see how many I can win again." And it's hit or miss. I'm not a fan of the comments, but he's also earned, he's earned the respect that he doesn't have anything left to prove. It just doesn't mean that he shouldn't still try to live up to more expectations.
yeah. And then also, Mason, before you talk, I do want to say one more thing about Rory. He also, I don't know if you saw this clip, which I I don't know how I feel about it, and this is just me bringing something up, I guess. But I was just like, "Come on, man!" But anyways, it was one of the media guys was asking some fun hypothetical situations for all the guys, and I don't know if y'all saw this clip, but basically, what he had asked, he said, "There's four parts in golf. If you could take hypothetically, if you could take anybody else's game, whose would you want and why?" And Rory states, he says nobody's. And he's like, well, and then the media guy was like, well, let's just say you had to. He's like, but I don't have to. I don't want anybody else's game. And then I was like, in my head, I'm like, have you seen Scottie Scheffler? Have you seen have you seen his ball striking? And just like little things like that. Because then I watched Scottie, and Scottie was very humble, and he's like, "Man, Rory is the best driver of the game. He hits it so far, all this." And then you see other guys talk about, well, now Jordan Spieth, his putting during his prime was amazing, and then they talk about Tiger's putting was amazing. I'd rather have Tiger's putting, but whatnot. But and then this is also another hot take for another time if you want. I think Rory is not the best driver of the game. It's Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler is the best driver of the game. It's the most accurate. Rory has the most, I guess, absurd where he can how hard and how far he can hit it. But if we're talking about like the best driver of the game, it's Scottie Scheffler. But anyways, Mason, let me hear your thoughts on Rory's. Any takes on his comments?
Yeah, kind of like Colton said. I mean, I hope he doesn't get into that mindset. I know we talked about this a little bit, a month or two ago, kind of after he won the Masters, and what we thought going forward, and if he'd have motivation. But I mean, it kind of looks like it may have affected him a little bit so far. I don't know if he's just become more relaxed and nonchalant, and like, hey, all this weight's lifted off my shoulders. I don't have to prepare as much. I've got everything I want. But I mean, the last two tournaments he's played in, they say he's the best driver of the golf ball. He hadn't had that the last two tournaments he's played in. I don't remember what it was the week before, but I think this last week he hit like 26 of 56 fairways or something, which is not good for Rory McIlroy. But same thing week before. I watched it on Saturday and Sunday, and I mean he was missing fairways left and right. Which is unlike Rory. So I don't know if maybe because he skipped out on the media. I don't know if maybe he's kind of woken up now after this and realized, all right, I got to find that drive again. I got to find something to push me. But for me, these last two tournaments, it kind of seems like he's lost a little bit of that drive and a little bit of that edge that he had before. Earlier this season, he came out firing. In these last two tournaments, I know he had that whole thing going on with his driver last weekend, but the weekend before, he wasn't driving it well either. So.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he can bounce back around like we've talked about. It's good when all these guys are good and playing their best. So I hope he finds something to keep him motivated and get back in that form.
Which is also something else, though. I bring up about Scottie in comparison to Rory is we're not talking about the beginning of the season where like Rory, if he were to post a 47th and hasn't won, trying to find himself, or Scottie whenever he had his hand surgery and trying to find himself. We're talking about the second major of the year. We've been through it. You've just come off the Grand Slam. You've won 3 times. How do you post 47th at a major, and where you've stated on the record that you have done a lot of work to be better for majors. You have prepped yourself, because that was another thing he commented in his in his conference. If you all watched it at all, he talked about how he found himself, and he said in a little notebook, he said he wants to be his best at the majors. Like, that's something that Scottie has done year in, year out for the past 3 years. Is you don't see these just 47th. Like, he ends up, if he doesn't win a tournament or post a top 5 or 10, he's still in the top 20. Like, it's not a 47th and kind of just everything's everywhere. And that's the case for Rory right now. I mean, like, what? So I just don't understand. Like, yes, you just completed that, you have, and yes, Colton, I agree with you. Like, he deserves it because he has won the Grand Slam. It's just built up, but if you're going to continue to compete at the highest level on the PGA Tour, you have guys who are still hungry. They're hunting, okay? Rory's got to find something to be hunting for. That's my final thoughts. Y'all can finish it up if you'd like.
No, I agree. I mean, he's got to find something. His game just was not there. I know y'all didn't get to watch much, but like short travel par 4, he left it a little short. Easy chip. I mean, he almost duffs it, and leaves it 8-footer for birdie, and he misses the birdie putt. It's just like little stuff like that all week. Like, his game was not good. It's not firing on all cylinders like it was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was when he won the Masters. Like, for me, it looks like he's definitely had some type of fall off there that mentally, I don't know if he's there right now.
Yeah. Well, Colton, if you don't have anything else, you can lead us into our last segment of the night. Go for it.
Yeah. So the NFL released their schedules. And normally you get to see who all is going to be in the primetime games. And as you know, me and Dylan are Titans fans, and Titans got the number 1 overall pick. We selected Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick. And if get ready to watch him on prime time. I'm kidding. We actually have 0 primetime games for the Titans. I
Nobody
mean,
wants to watch that.
0. What is this nonsense? But Caleb Williams, the Bears had like 5 primetime games last year as the number 1 pick. And so the Titans get a number 1 pick, and we're not even going to put them. Heck, they've played at least a Monday night game against like the Dolphins the last 3 years, and now we get
I
the number
know.
1 pick. And you want, I mean, Will Levis has been on primetime, but we're going to get the number 1 pick, and we're not even going to give us a primetime game.
They
I
already
mean,
know
absolutely.
Titans are going to be the
What
worst
is
team in the
this?
league.
They may
They're going to
be.
get the number
That
1
may
pick
be
again.
what happens. And that's fine. That's what needs to happen. But how do you not get the number 1 pick? There's no other way. Look, it's the same way with like Wemby, right? The Spurs are no good.
Yeah.
They're gonna be. Same thing with Cooper Flag. How many primetime games are the Mavs going to get now with Cooper Flag when they draft him? Like you do it for the number 1 picks, but don't disrespect the Titans like that. Especially, listen, I'll give them this year. If they don't do it the next year when we get at least a brand new stadium, and I mean, come
They
on
got to do that.
now, like you got to at least show off the stadium if you don't want to show off the team.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I am upset about it, like in a sense that, like that. I mean, it just stinks because as a fan, like you want your team to be playing on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday, like. But however, I can't discredit the fact that the Titans stink. Like, like I mean,
I know we're terrible,
Boo.
like, but I
awful.
but that the thing about it though is Colton, you make a good point in it, like the Bears, like last year, or was it last year that it
Yeah,
was his rookie season? Okay, so like yeah, I mean you're sitting there like okay, the Bears they have this many primetime games. Why can't the Titans just get one? I mean, how many weeks are there in the NFL season? 15? No,
there's
there's more than that.
17. There's 17
17.
games. There's 18 weeks. Yeah,
18
Okay,
weeks.
so 18 weeks. You have Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. So whatever 3 times 17 is,
18.
or 18, yeah.
Heck, put them
So
Yeah,
on one of them Saturday morning games where they go to London or something.
yeah,
Put them on prime time.
you're literally looking at what 54 54 opportunities for primetime games, and you can't put them on one. But for some reason, the last 2 or 3 years, we've been absolute trash, and you've thrown us on a primetime game. This is
yeah.
just nonsense. The disrespect.
Mason, what are
They
your
I
just
thoughts
mean,
on it though? Like for real, like as an outsider, like watching football, like are you
uh,
like okay, I get it, or like is there a sense of like
no.
respect? Like okay, we got to let them at least have one. Like does it make sense if you was the league doing this, or does it kind of not make sense at all? Because me and Colton, we're a little biased, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I don't really want to watch the Titans on prime time because they're going to stink. But I do think that there should be something in place where every team gets at least one prime time game a year. I don't think it's right to leave teams out. I mean, give them that opportunity. Who knows what could come of it, right? I mean, so I think they
Or
should
at
at least
least
have one.
yeah, at least
They're going
throw
to
us
be
on a Thursday night against somebody else who's terrible. Like those
right. There's
games, Thursday.
throw us overseas at a 9 o'clock
yeah, that's
NFL
yeah,
Network
right. There
on
you go.
Sunday. The couple
Yeah,
of times they play overseas, but it was at nine
yeah. Do
o'clock in the
something like
morning.
that. Yeah,
Do something. My, not
but
even one.
I mean, there were so many bad primetime games last year. Like I don't remember what game it was, but I can't remember who it was. But I think it was like 9-6 was the final score or something. Like it was
But
all
that's
field
but
goals.
that's what we're saying. Like if you're gonna put the Bears on it
I
5 times,
Yeah,
because I mean you were expecting like how many primetime games will the Steelers have? Now, granted, they may get Rodgers, or how many?
I
It's
don't
like the
know.
Jets, right?
Uh huh.
The Jets had a ton of primetime games when they signed Rodgers, and Rodgers gets hurt the first game, and we had to watch the Jets the rest of the year. Zach
Yep.
Wilson and Tim
Garbage.
Boyle and whoever the heck they kept throwing out there.
Garbage. Hey, I'll tell you what though, my Packers schedule is rough. Have y'all? I know y'all probably haven't seen the Packers schedule, but it's going it's going to be a tough season. We
The
play a
times are
lot
going
of good teams.
the times are going to Denver the first game and getting demolished by a Denver defense that will destroy our line. playing out there.
Absolutely.
Bo Nix will absolutely dominate us. What a
Absolutely.
terrible start. Why couldn't they give us like the
Let's
Jaguars?
see. I'm looking at y'all's schedule. Let's see how many wins y'all get. No. No.
I'm looking at maybe 3, maybe 4.
We're going to win
No.
5. We're going to win
No.
5.
5 games.
Yep, we'll win 5.
Maybe.
Colin Cowherd's got us as a wild card team.
Hey.
What is he drinking?
Yeah, I don't know. No way.
Oh, my goodness.
Only way we're doing that is Will Levis leads us.
Let's go.
We're going to convert him into a tight end.
To a tight end. Y'all need to convert him into an offensive lineman to protect Cam Ward back there.
Yeah, no. The Titans are most likely not going to be. So I get it. It's not something, and it's not probably a heavy fan base. It's not, it's not anything like that.
See, like this Titans-Patriots game, that could have been a great Thursday night game. Battle of the terrible teams.
But Vrabel, like, there's some storylines there.
Exactly.
Vrabel coaching his old team.
Yeah.
Couple,
Thursday
young
night game.
QBs, couple hard-nosed. It would be like a 12-6 game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. All for it.
Let's start a
what
petition.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Chiefs probably have 6 or 7 primetime games.
As they should, though.
Patrick
Eagles
Mahomes, Will Levis,
Cam Ward. Yeah, well, we're moving on past Levis. We got Cam Ward now.
Hey, listen, they're getting equal snaps right now, they said.
Oh, my. Here we go.
Way to waste the number 1 pick. Great.
Yep. I'm glad.
What are we doing? Well, regardless if you are a Titans fan or not, we should have got a primetime game. So there's that. Fellas, we got a lot going on. Continue to tune in. You all who are listening out there to Bluegrass State of Mind, we appreciate you all. As always, go Cats.
Your Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.